Percy, oh Percy, another character that I've been looking forward to covering in this marathon. Percy has gone through a lot over the course of the 24 season run, from being on in season 5, to overcoming his fear and being brave in an attempt to save a friend, to being kind of naive when questioning things. But despite those oddities, Percy is still a strong character. You just can't go wrong with looking at a 4-wheeled saddle tank engine visual-wise. But just what has the little green caterpillar with red stripes got in store for the 5th episode of this marathon? Well, we are about to find out. Buckle up, folks, as we are about to take a deep dive into Percy the Small Engine. Let's get into it. Percy is a rather cheeky but kind engine. He normally behaves well, yet he also gets himself into trouble by jumping into situations without adequately thinking them through first. He loves teasing other engines, especially bigger ones such as Gordon and James, but is always brought down to earth in due course by anyone who gives him the moral to learn, especially the Fat Controller. He can also be somewhat timid. Percy can also be questionable and naive to certain difficult words, for some reason. He is also incredibly accident prone and has many accidents, sometimes due to his own silliness or his tricks backfiring. Despite this, he always tries to do his best, learns from his mistakes, and get his jobs done, a loyalty which the Fat Controller has praised him for on many occasions. Although their friendship has been turbulent at times, Thomas is Percy's best friend. He is also good friends with Toby. While he has a small rivalry with Harold stemming from their first race, they are always willing to help each other when in trouble. During the CGI series, Percy became slightly wiser and a little less cheeky. This could be because he learned his lesson from being cheeky or because he did not want to get into trouble again. Also, Percy and Thomas's friendship has expanded and they hardly ever argue. Despite his increased maturity, Percy still falls victim to occasional bouts of naivety and misunderstandings. In terms of the Green Caterpillar's voice actors, like the other engines, we have quite a few to discuss here. The first is Michael Angelis, who voiced Percy and James in the Magic Railroad workprint. Now, I don't know why Angelis gave James and Percy the exact same voice in the workprint. It just doesn't make it no different, because in the show, he made sure to give these characters their own distinctive voices. So yeah, I'm sorry Angelis, but this ain't it, Chief. Random side note about Angelis' Percy voice in the show, I don't know why that, in the hit era, he voiced Percy in his James voice.
Everywhere on Sodor is special, Pete Percy. And so are the people and the children and the engines. We are all special.
Gee, it's no wonder why James A. Williams suffered through seasons 9 through 11 because of this. Anyway, now on to the actor who they chose to voice Percy in Magic Railroad, Linda Ballantine. Yes, I know, a woman was casted as a male character. But like I said in yesterday's video on James, Linda's voice for Percy almost sounds like a boy's voice. Yeah, it definitely sounds like Linda, but I think her voice for Percy definitely works out well, even if it's not my favorite voice actor in Magic Railroad. And now on to his VAs in the CGI series. Starting off with, wow, it's Keith Wickham! What a shocking revelation! But seriously though, it's kind of crazy to me how we've been covering Keith's voices for 5 episodes straight. But that just shows how good of a voice actor he is. Anyway, Keith's voice for Percy, like the others, is definitely iconic. Though, Like what ThomasFan261 said in his Percy Voices video, it's more of a product of its time voice, meaning that it was more so meant for the Nitrogen era more so than anything. But he definitely improved in season 17 and 18 for sure, unlike the next voice actor we're gonna cover, and that is Martin Sherman. I'm sorry, but this has to be one of the worst voices I have ever heard when it comes to the US dub of the CGI series. It's far too squeaky, and it comes off as annoying. Keith's Percy voice was kinda like that, but at least it was tolerable. You know how people complain about Mater being annoying in Cars 2? Well, that applies to the US dub of Day of the Diesels, as Percy is the main character of that film, and it gets so annoying listening to Martin's voice for him. And it distracts me from being engaged with the interesting story the film has to offer. And now for the peak Percy voice actor, Nigel Pilkington. Like John Hassler's voice for Thomas, Nigel's voice for Percy is nothing short of phenomenal. In fact, Nigel is Percy the Small Engine. He captures that timid side of Percy's character so well. Even in the Blubber era, he's a charm to listen to. The Blubber era was definitely carried by John and Nigel, as well as Rachel Miller as Rebecca, but I'll get to her when I cover Rebecca. And then we have Christopher Ragland. Christopher is the complete opposite of Martin Sherman's Percy. Like Nigel, he definitely captures that timid side of Percy quite well. Of course, that does get annoying when it's put into an awful episode like Panicky Percy. More on that in a bit. But aside from a few duds, Christopher is definitely one of the better US voice actors. Him and Joseph May bounce off of each other quite well, if I'm honest. And lastly is Rob Rackstraw, who voiced Percy in those god-awful YouTube shorts, like the birthday wishes bullcrap. What on earth is this Percy voice? You're trying to tell me that this sounds like Percy?
I've been making deliveries in the muddy countryside all day, so now I'm a mess.
Nah. And the fact that he's put alongside Hassler just makes it all the more painful to watch. This just doesn't sound like Percy. No offense, Rob, but I really don't like this voice you gave Percy. It just doesn't sound right to me. And now on to the Little Green Guys episodes. I think that Percy's standout episode rightfully goes to Put Upon Percy. This has to be the craziest episode of the entire series. Probably right next to Toby and the Flood and Rusty and the Boulder. Like I said in the intro, Percy got absolutely shit on in this season, being overworked and constantly being bored with his work. And this has to be the craziest scenario he's ever been put in. Getting caught and being buried alive in a landslide. Oh my god! This is absolutely crazy! And that's just why I love Season 5. Call it overrated all you want, but that's just how I feel about all of these crazy scenarios that have happened in this season. And that's why it's my second favorite season overall, and it is easily Percy's best season without a doubt. Now, rather unfortunately, Percy has had quite a few duds across the show's run, being made into the baby of the main cast. He's had some dumb and sometimes stupid episodes like Percy's New Whistle or Percy's New Friends. But honestly, my pick for the worst Percy episode of all time goes to Season 23's Panicky Percy. I honestly thought that 3 Steam Engine's gruff just ignoring Percy's character development until the Brave was strange enough. But this episode completely throws all of his character development out of the window for the sake of plot. This honestly feels like a season 13 through 16 plot. Percy is just so stupid in this episode. Like, why does he think that Thomas has been caught in an avalanche on Doc's branch line? That's a coastline, for crying out loud! Doesn't Percy know that? This episode is just awful. And is, in my opinion, worse than Apology Impossible from the last season. Hate this one. Percy has had quite a few ups and downs. He's had his very strong moments, but he's also had his fair share of duds, mostly in hits department. And even in one of the best eras, he's had his good and bad moments. But man, when he's had his best moments in the show, you know that's a good sign. Season 5 was where he really reached his boiling point, and I love his character journey in Tell the Brave. But no matter what, Percy is always a great character through thick and thin, regardless of the outcome. Whether it be his growing friendship with Thomas, his rivalry with Harold, and his interactions with Toby. Not to mention that his character theme in the classic era is my second favorite character theme in that era, with Thomas's character theme of course being first because you know why. Percy is another great character, and a character that has for sure refused to be neglected, because if you treat him badly, prepare yourselves for a storm. But he is still our beloved green caterpillar on the inside. Definitely one of the greats. And that concludes the 5th installment of the 2nd iteration of the character highlight reel. We are halfway through covering the Thomas characters I'll be covering in this series, folks. And the next character will be our favorite steam tram himself, Toby. And if you want to stay tuned for that, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to not miss out on the newest content. And until next time, bye guys.